right, and we are live. I'm waiting for it to pop up to go live on Instagram.
Cool.
Instagram does their own little way. You have like a stream key and it takes a minute, and we're good on there. Wait, let me pull up the chat. Perfect. All right, guys. Welcome back to the 16th episode of the Veganless podcast. I'm Daniel, and today we have Nick from LandTrust. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Daniel. So yeah, my name's Nick DeCastro. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called LandTrust. Um, think Airbnb for booking outdoor experiences like hunting, fishing, camping, foraging, all that fun stuff on private land all across the country.
Sounds like a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
So,
it's been fun.
I always like to start these out. I think it's huge to continue giving back to new hunters and people that maybe haven't got into hunting yet. I think it's a vital thing for continuing, the growth and
Yep.
longevity of hunting and just outdoorsmanship. So, do you have any advice you would give to a new hunter?
I mean, hunting is hard. So I've done a bunch of different types of outdoor stuff. I grew up at the beach, and you get surfing and body surfing, and swimming, and all that kind of stuff. And that's an easier thing to get into. Hunting, the government's involved. You got to get licenses. You got to do all that stuff. So I've run into a bunch over the years where I have friends and like, oh, they're going to come out and visit. Say, can we go hunting? I'm like, well, I can take you hunting, but you can't go hunting because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a license. So I think the most important thing is like find out. Do your most of the hunting education courses. So for the people who don't know, you have to have a hunting license, and it's kind of like getting a driver's license. You go and do a course, take a test, and once you have a hunting license, you can go get hunting licenses in every state. So the biggest thing is just go get your hunter safety education done. And that way, when it sounds fun to go on a hunting trip because you're coming out to Montana or wherever else, you can actually do it. Otherwise, you can come along, but you're just going to go for a hike. So I would say do your hunter safety course and just get that license out of the way.
I think that's a great piece of advice that hasn't ever been touched on because I think everyone thinks someone already starting to hunt. So I think that's a great bit of knowledge that people that don't hunt probably aren't going to know right away. So,
Yeah, it's this big barrier,
mhm,
and if you have it, now there are some exceptions. You can go in a lot of states. You can like hunt coyotes, or you can go, hunt hogs or varmints and stuff like that. But generally speaking, get your hunting education done. So that's just
mhm,
out of the way, and you can actually
absolutely.
participate.
Absolutely. And would you have a piece of advice for people past that stage moving into actually hunting?
Sure. I don't know. Be patient. I think, especially with social media, there's all this expectation of like actually being successful, and it happens, but there's a lot of trial and error. I've always just been kind of like a do-it-yourselfer. I got into big game. I was bird hunting since I was, my dad's a bird hunter, so since I was 3 or whatever, I got into big game hunting in my 20s, and I just watched a bunch of YouTube and try to figure it out and go out and mess up a bunch and until it works. But I think make sure your expectations are tempered as far as success goes. But if your expectations are to go out and learn something new, be in cool environments, enjoy being disconnected from from not from the outdoors, from day to day life, and just like I don't know, being surrounded by nature, I think that would be my best advice. Don't go out and think you're going to go be successful immediately if success is killing an animal. you know
Mhm. Yeah, I think success should also be measured off of yourself and your own goals versus what you watch on YouTube or the
Totally.
social media group posts or so on.
Hmm.
So set something, reasonable for yourself if you're getting into it and then work towards that. And just because you might eat tag soup this year doesn't mean it was a failure. What did you learn each time you're out? Try to be
Well, and
learning
just
as you're out
enjoy it.
there and learning signs and yeah, just get away and
Yeah.
enjoy it and all
Yeah.
that. So absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you bird hunt. What all do you hunt? Do you pheasant hunt or
Yeah. So I grew up, I guess a little bit of background on myself. I grew up in Southern California. So I was born down there. So I grew up bird hunting my whole life, fishing, fly fishing, spear fishing in the ocean. I grew up pretty much on the beach. But we grew up bird hunting quail, like
Mhm.
California quail, over Brittany's in the deserts. And so,
Mhm.
and then we did, pheasant, and I have a bird dog now. Huns and sharpies. I shot
Mhm.
my first couple sharpies this year, which was awesome, and they also
Nice.
are very good to eat. But yeah, I've hunted a lot of different chucker. I've hunted a lot of different upland game
Mhm.
birds throughout my life, and then I got into big game hunting 2015. So
Mhm.
almost, I guess, almost 10 years ago.
What kinda bird dog do you have?
I have a black lab. So I grew up
Okay.
over Brittany's, and it was purely
Yep,
upland.
yep.
And now,
Me too.
I live in Montana, and it gets.
Mhm.
I hunted this last season 35 below zero, so
Mhm.
you kind of need a big dumb black lab to
We had
jump in the water
Brittany's
when it's.
growing up. Yep,
Yeah.
we had Brittany's growing up, so nothing but respect, love those dogs.
Oh
And
yeah.
then my stepdad has a GSP now,
Oh
but
yeah.
I have a puppy. She turned a year old last month, beginning of last month. I have a chocolate
No.
lab that is
Oh
gonna be my
nice.
present dog. So I
Yeah.
think it's a great, like, versatile dog to work with.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, for sure. There, and it's in the environment, right? So I got
Hmm.
him when I was living in the mountains, and it's like, yeah, it gets really cold here, and
Hmm.
are they the best upland? I have a pointing lab, and I had
Hmm.
him trained, but I didn't keep it up because I was busy. So
Hmm.
like he actually, this last season, we went on a hunt with a partner, and he did throw a point on
Hmm.
on some Huns, which was awesome. But they can kind of get it done, and they can do
Yeah.
most things. It's
I
not
think they're
beautiful.
resilient
Yeah, totally.
and flexible. They might not be master of one, but they're a good all around.
Yeah, they're a utility
Hmm.
knife. They're a Leatherman, right?
Like my lab, her dad's side does trials and stuff upland,
Yep.
and then mom's side was a waterfowl side.
Yeah.
I haven't done any waterfowl hunting yet myself. I would love to, but
So much fun.
it's kind of a big one to kind of jump into, like um,
I guess that would be something, honestly. You can kind of get into it without going. I mean, I would not consider
without going to
myself.
full spreads and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
you could sit with a dog and 5 to 10 decoys
Hmm.
on like a little spring creek or a pond. You could
Right.
get into it. You could shoot some ducks and get
Hmm.
your dog on it. I don't pretend to be some sort of waterfowl
Right.
master. I'm definitely a generalist, and I could
Hmm.
shoot some ducks, but I'm nothing when it comes to actual real waterfowlers.
Yeah, I have some friends and stuff. I just need to get time and go out with them
Yeah.
and stuff. But so, what all do you hunt then? You said birds, obviously, and you mentioned big
Hmm.
game.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll hunt anything. I've hunted everything I've had the chance to.
Hmm.
So all the different upland birds that I've gotten to chase, waterfowl. Um, then I killed my first big game animal when I was living in Colorado in 2015. That was an
Hmm.
antelope, which was a cool experience. And then I've killed a handful of antelope and mule deer and whitetail. I've killed a couple cow elk. I've still have not killed a bull.
Hmm.
But yeah, pretty much everything. I've chased bears. I've never been
Hmm.
successful, but yeah.
Yeah, elk's probably top of my bucket list. I'm working on building points for Wyoming. That'll be
Nice.
again like 5 years out,
Yeah.
probably, if not
Yeah.
longer. So, working on
Well,
that.
you know that there's over-the-counter cow tags in Montana, certain units. So even for
Yeah,
non-res.
I kind of thought about that, and Colorado has some over the counter, but I heard that might be going away like the upcoming
Colorado's
year or
been
something.
swamped.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. I love eating elk and stuff too. I mean, that's the end goal is fill the freezer. So,
Yeah. Yeah, going out, and I mean, cow hunting in your shoulder season, it's fun. It's something to
mhm,
do. You get to be in the same place.
mhm.
I don't know.
You can
It
still
is fun.
learn and prepare for
Oh,
yeah, a bull hunt.
100%. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is on your bucket list for hunts?
Mm. Well, I mean, I still would like to kill a bull, right? That would be great.
Hmm.
Um, God willing, that will happen. I've never shot pigs. I'd really like to go shoot pigs, and we
Yeah.
have some stuff on LandTrust now, where we have some pig properties. We're starting to move more in the
Hmm.
south and southeast. Pig hunting would be a ton of fun.
Hmm.
Honestly, I never was into Africa, and I've started to get into the idea of Africa a little bit more.
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's a bunch over there. I don't pretend to know much about it, but I have some friends who are coming back, and they're like, it was epic. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a specific species or anything like that, but I
Hmm.
think just going and experiencing Africa would be
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome to experience at least once in your lifetime,
Yeah,
go experience it. And people often like criminalize
yeah,
Africa hunts because they're like, oh, you're trophy hunters, this, that, so on. When it's literally habitat management, and it
Yeah.
feeds like the locals, and it does a lot of good. It drives their economy and stuff. So
Well, it's because it's exotic to us, right? It's not
yeah.
exotic to Africans.
Hmm.
People who live on the African continent. It's like
Hmm.
those are they're like their whitetail. It's not.
It it
It's their
literally
everyday.
raises the money for their equivalent of like the DNR and stuff.
Totally. So yeah, I just think
Otherwise,
it
they
would
wouldn't
be
have any
it'd be
money.
cool.
They would just wipe out animals and stuff that are problems. So.
Well, and it ties to, I mean, it kind of ties to what we do is when you put profit on high quality habitat and wildlife, you have more of it. And,
Mhm.
when you start to look at Africa and the countries who have done away with hunting, they don't have any more wildlife because you
Mhm.
took all the value
Yeah,
of the
because
wildlife away.
then when it
Yeah.
bothers that farmer or whomever, they just
Hmm.
get rid of them.
Yeah.
Question from the chat: what caliber rifle do you guys use for rifle hunting? I primarily bow hunt, but being in Iowa, I have a 350 Legend since they allow straight wall cartridges. I
Oh,
have I have a 308 as well. I have your common
yep.
rifles, but 350 Legend is kind of, I guess, primary for Iowa if you're hunting. I
Yeah.
mean, people use a lot of other stuff, but that's pretty
You
common
can use
for
like
us.
slug guns too, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can do
Yeah. Yep.
shotguns and stuff. I picked up the 350 Legend to get my son into it because they have, real low recoil and they're
That's
assault
awesome.
rifle. So
Yeah.
got that for him, and then I grew up slug hunting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Myself, I used for a while. I was using my dad's Seiko 243 from like the 70s. Sweet little gun, like
Hmm.
Mannlicher stock, and I killed a handful of animals with that. Now I have a 308. I've got a 300 blackout, which is really fun.
I have too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
favorite rifle that I have.
yeah. So I have, and I have a can that I can switch between the two of them.
Yep, yep,
So
me too. Exactly. I have a quick detach on both and then
yeah.
swap it between the two.
So I mean, it's not probably the most obvious, but I have an AR-10
Hmm.
and I hunt with that, and it's a little heavy or whatever, but
Hmm.
I don't know. With the can on it, it's really fun, and I've shot some stuff with 270, but yeah,
Hmm.
308's kind of like it's the most versatile
It's
round. I
such a
don't know.
proven, yeah,
Yeah,
such a
yeah,
proven platform. Mine's a bolt gun, my 308. I picked up one of those Ruger American Predators, which
they're
is
amazing.
freaking
Yeah,
amazing gun for the
yep,
price point if anyone's looking for a budget one.
yep,
And I took the only gripe, which is kind of a necessary thing to keep it in the budget, is the stock feels cheap. And on
yeah.
mine, I took it off and I put the Magpul stock on
I
it,
was
and
gonna
it
say
is
Magpul.
a phenomenal rifle. It's heavier now, but
My buddy did that, and he's got the 300 blackout in that one too. And
hmm,
it's, I mean, it's like what
yeah,
is it, 5 or 6? It's not that expensive.
yeah, it's
And
like
it's an accurate
550 or
rifle.
something.
It's
Yeah,
an accurate rifle.
yep, it's wonderful. With the elk and moose and grizzlies up here, my go-to is a 300 Win Mag. Yeah, that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
yeah.
They said they're from Alberta, so.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And then James said 450 Bushmaster, a good one. Yep, that's a big popular one in Iowa too, and just in general, I guess.
yeah.
Do you primarily rifle or do you archery now, or?
I mean, look, it's funny. People think, oh, you're founder and CEO of a company. Like, we do a lot of hunting,
Hmm.
and obviously, sub the office, we got a bunch of animals
Hmm.
everywhere. So kind of show you the office there. But funny enough, I don't really get to hunt a ton because I've got
Hmm.
3 little kids under the age of 5 and this business. So I get a handful of days a year.
Hmm.
For big game, honestly, the last couple of years I haven't bow hunted. I've just rifle hunted because I get
Hmm.
a day, 2 days,
Use what
whatever it
time
might
you
be.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, right, archery hunting is a much lower percentage
Yeah.
opportunity. Like it's really
Yep.
fun, and I like it. I love it. It's great. But
Hmm.
these last couple of years, a different season of life, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta make do with what time you have.
Totally.
Neither one's right or wrong by any means.
Yeah.
Um, the end goal is filling the freezer. So
Yeah, and just enjoying yourself. I mean, honestly, for me at this
absolutely.
stage right now, it's disconnecting from the phone and the freaking internet,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
I don't know, just enjoying yourself outdoors.
That's been a pretty common one on this podcast too. Speaking with people in the industry, everyone thinks like, heck yeah, it's awesome, like run a business and like my favorite hobby or whatever, and then they
Yeah.
don't realize that it really cuts into you getting into the field.
Yes.
At least in the younger stages, as you grow and maybe have more staff and stuff, sure, that'll probably open
Yeah.
up, but
Yeah.
just gotta.
Yeah. If there's success, you grind hard right now. And like, yeah, hopefully,
Hmm.
my oldest daughter just turned 5 on Monday. So she loves fishing. She hasn't gone hunting with me yet because she can't keep her
Hmm.
mouth shut. And I've told her, like, you have to be quiet or I can't take you hunting.
Right.
So hopefully she kind of gets on it. But yeah, I'm hoping in the next few years as she becomes more at the hunting
Hmm.
age that yeah, I'll have the time to go and do it.
Right. Perfect. Doesn't look like we have any other questions yet. So, what would you say your favorite hunting story is?
That's a good question. Um, I mean, the original hunting story for me is going hunting with my dad, um, and I remember it kind of because I was like I don't know 3.5. But like I said, I grew up in Southern California, and it was I'm 37 or 36, so it was a long time ago from
Hmm.
a development of Southern California perspective. But we went dove hunting down pretty much by the Mexican border, um, and dove hunting's September, whatever the first weekend of September. It was like 115 degrees. It's hot, and
Hmm.
there's no air conditioning, none of that stuff. And uh, he shot some doves, and I was like his little bird dog, so he'd shoot doves. I'd go run out of the bush and go grab them, and I brought this. He brought this dove back, and I was looking at it, and it's bleeding out of the beak, and
Hmm.
this is my first interaction with death in that way, right? And as my dad says, he's like, "Well, I'm watching him. I'm seeing like he's either going to be a hunter or he's not right now."
Hmm.
And I'm looking at it, messing with his beak and the blood and all that stuff. And I apparently I said, "Well, that's the way it goes." And my dad's like, "All right, he's going to be a hunter." So,
He's like,
you
score.
know, yeah, he's either going to cry or be into it. So, yeah, again, I don't tell that from a first person. I can
Hmm.
kind of remember it, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Do you have any hunting fail stories? Like a hunting fail that comes to mind? Those are always fun to hear.
a bunch. I think this one is instructive too. And again, I want to be very clear. I don't pretend to be some sort of like master hunter. Okay, so
Hmm.
I do it because I love it, and I'm a generalist. I like to try everything. I'm definitely not a deep
Hmm.
expert on anything. But after I moved up here in Montana in end of 16, I was hunting some public on a river. Opening morning, rifle season, whitetail deer. There are all these deer on these little islands. 100-yard shot, broadside. Doesn't know we're there.
Hmm.
I was at 270. It was a 243. I can't remember what I shot. I think it was a 270. And
Hmm.
just, perfect shot. All the time in the world, deer's just literally feeding 100 yards
Hmm.
broadside. And I put one right, double lung. Cool. I was hunting with somebody else. We didn't even like it just dropped. I'm like, all right, cool. Now
Hmm.
let's find you a deer and do all that. Well, um, when we went later, my friend shot a deer too. I didn't bring a rifle with me
Hmm.
because I'm like, I just shot. It was an hour
Hmm.
later. Like that deer's dead, right?
Yeah,
It
there's no
was
way.
like it
Yeah.
was the perfect shot, like go down, get in the river, do all that stuff, and go to where I shot him, and he was not there. And then so we're following, blood trail, blood's coming out both sides, when he's
Hmm.
going along brush, and
Hmm.
walk 20 yards, and then he pops up and stares at you at 15 yards, like, oh my god, I didn't bring a gun. Stupid stuff.
Hmm.
Nothing. I had nothing on me. So, it was a mule deer. We ended up killing him. I had to go back to the truck,
Hmm.
but
Find
that's
it again.
just
Yeah.
that was stupid, right? It was like,
Hmm.
no, keep your gun on you. You never know. These animals are
Right.
ridiculously tough. You
Yeah, they
from out in
are.
your direction, we see stuff on Instagram where like they get run over by combines and stuff, and like you see into
Hmm.
the deer, and they're still feeding like nothing happened.
Right.
So that was a mistake for sure.
Yeah, they bounce off of cars and stuff, get up, run off.
Yeah,
They are resilient too.
ridiculously tough. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I've had those moments growing up too, where you would take a shot and it's like that was a perfect shot. There's no way that thing's getting up, and then you go grab the truck or whatever, and
Yep.
then you come back and it got up and went to the deepest ditch it could find, and there's where
Yeah.
it lays now.
Yeah, totally.
Hmm. So we talked about favorite hunt or most memorable hunt, and then we talked
Sure.
about a fail. Do you have any planned hunting coming up? Do you do any out of state or anything? I know you're kind of tight on time.
Yeah, and frankly, from it's one of the nice things about the company that we built here is LandTrust makes it really easy to go in other states.
Hmm.
Especially for people. like I'm deeply envious of the younger guys who yet don't have a family yet, or
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
they spend 40 days a year scouting and hunt 30 days a season. Like,
Mhm.
truly deeply envious of you. It's just not my life anymore.
Mhm.
So I have some. I might be going on a gator hunt actually in Louisiana in a
That'd
month.
be fun.
Yeah, so we just brought a new place, a new rice farm on down there, and they've got land under tag. So
Mhm.
I have no idea what to expect. That would be a really fun hunt. And then I didn't put in for a lot of tags this year. I have
Mhm.
obviously Montana. Just as a resident, we get
Mhm.
elk and deer, and um, so I'll probably do something there. But work's been so busy and life is busy that I didn't feel comfortable like
Mhm.
putting a handful of hunts on the calendar.
Mhm.
But a
That's
gator hunt in
fair.
September would be fun. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, with you being busy, what does your off season kind of look like? Do you try to put in some e-scouting, or do you have some spots that you normally go to and kind of just have built up knowledge over the years, or
Yeah, I mean, frankly, at this point, almost I mainly go outdoors on LandTrust properties. And like, yeah, I get it. I'm the CEO of the company,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of properties that I'll fish. Like
Mhm.
there's places that are real close to where we're sitting right now in
Mhm.
Bozeman that are amazing fishing. So I'll go fish them during the summer with the kids. We hunt for mineral mushrooms on them, in the
Mhm.
springtime, and then we'll go shoot deer on them or ducks or whatever. So
Mhm.
there's a handful of properties around here that I use all the time, just
Mhm.
booking stuff through Land Trust, and you get to know them.
Right.
So it's kind of like the local spots, and they're
Mhm.
6 minutes from my house, and you could sneak out for a morning,
Right.
and the wife will let it slide, where it's not like a three
Right.
day, 5 day thing. I get like one of those kinds of trips. Like I did a Mississippi turkey hunt with the Mossy Oak guys
Mhm.
this spring, and I did one other turkey hunt. So those were like longer trips, but
Mhm.
yeah, honestly, in the off season, I like to fish, I like to camp, I like
Right.
to do that stuff.
Makes sense. Another question. Do you cut and wrap your harvest yourself, or do you take the meat to a butcher? And if you take it to the butcher, how much does it cost? Um, so I have primarily taken it to a butcher at this point when if we're talking like deer and stuff, because where I was living, I didn't really have a lot of room to process it myself or time. This year, my goal is to process it myself, but we'll see how that goes. I have a lot on my plate for this year. I do an urban population control season, so I'm hunting in city limits here, and then I'm going to get 5 does for that, and then they give me an incentive buck tag for urban next year, and
Nice,
then I have my archery season buck, and then whichever rifle season I pick, which I can still use my bow if I go muzzleloader, which is probably what I'm going to do this year. Not 100% certain, but more likely than not. So, going to have a whole lot of deer to process,
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah.
And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I want to say base cost if you're just taking it and saying, just do the basic. I don't remember it was like 120 or something or 150 here.
We're doing like
Um,
sticks and burger or what?
that's just plain back straps and I think some
Yeah.
ground. I turned one into my buck. I turned into I had my back straps and then I basically turned the rest into sticks and stuff and sausage, and that was like $500. That got
Yeah, that
expensive
stuff gets
fast.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So still have a bunch of those. I really kick myself for not getting more ground out of last year. So that's the main purpose this year, and then I'll make my own stuff if I want. So I have a
Yeah,
smoker and stuff now. So
nice. Smoker's on the to-do list for me. So I like to butcher my own. Yeah, I think having a garage is nice. If you don't have the space, you got to kind of plan
mhm,
for it a little bit. And I don't have
right.
like a big garage. I don't have a shop or
Mhm,
anything. I just have a two-car garage. But um, I really enjoy it. I enjoy that process. It's really interesting,
mhm,
and knowing just like full chain of custody almost, right? It's like, hey, I
mhm.
shot this thing,
You
I
know
packed
it's
it,
your
I know
animal.
it's
You're getting it back.
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And look, there's great processors out there and there's really
Mhm,
bad ones.
mhm,
Hopefully you're working with a very good one. But I think kind of seeing that through, especially with kids now, it's really interesting to, I think it's healthy for them to see like, yeah, there's a bloody
mhm,
deer or elk or antelope and or
mhm,
ducks or whatever.
And we utilize
And
every bit of it that we can. Like,
yeah, and they get to make the sausage, they get to make all that kind of
mhm.
stuff with me, or steaks and vac seal and do all that stuff.
In a
So
world of processed foods, it's nice knowing where your stuff came from.
yeah, totally. And look, don't get me wrong, my kids definitely still probably eat processed food. Like,
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
three
I
of
do
them.
too.
There's three of them. I don't, you know, I'm not a pure hunter gatherer by any means, nor do I
Hmm.
represent that. But yeah, I think it's really good, and I enjoy it. And once you do it a handful of times, honestly, all the ungulates are kind of the same. They're just
Yep.
bigger or smaller.
Hmm.
And like a whitetail doe, it doesn't take that long to process. If you're just going to like part it out into kind of primal cuts and some steaks and then do some grind, it's
Hmm.
not that big of a process once you learn it. You do
Hmm.
like two or three of them, I don't know, it's not that bad.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just a useful skill to have too.
Hmm.
We're constantly on the uncertainty of where the world's going to go. So being able to
Yeah,
fend for yourself, really, like,
totally.
great skills.
Yeah,
Garrett Miller, nothing better than a good juicy steak. Absolutely.
agreed.
I still have some
Agreed.
back straps left from last year. I need to cook some more up.
Yeah,
Try
a
to
steak
get.
of any kind, elk, deer, or I mean,
Hmm.
obviously cows.
Yeah.
I love beef.
Speaking of food, do you have any favorite wild game recipes that you do? Any go tos?
I mean, so you haven't really shot a bunch of waterfowl, but I got to
Hmm.
say, like mallards and teal, that's the one thing. So I love fat, right?
Hmm.
When I eat beef, I'm eating ribeye. Like
Yes, me
my
too.
kids will, yeah, my kids will like only want to eat the fat. They don't want to,
Hmm.
I have to make them eat, the actual muscle.
Hmm.
Um, and that's one of the things that you kind of miss in wild game, right? Elk, deer, antelope, whatever.
Hmm.
Super lean, and if there is any fat, it's not really stuff you want to eat.
Hmm.
Ducks is where you make it up, and mallards, like a lot of puddle ducks, but mallards and teal, they're
Hmm.
so fatty. I've had teal flare up on a grill like a super fatty ribeye.
Hmm.
So I would say like grilling, you know, skin on, fat on, like mallards or teal, and like really, I eat steak really, really rare, like black and
Hmm.
blue.
Hmm.
But doing it like that is for sure it. And then I would say that antelope. I honestly, I'd rather eat antelope than elk, and I know that's like maybe heresy to people. I think antelope tastes like tri-tip, like off of a cow. Um,
Hmm.
Antelope is so good, and I know some people think that, or maybe I've heard that it. For me, every antelope I've ever eaten is phenomenal, and just doing like a roast, but over charcoal. I mean, if I can, I like to cook over charcoal if you got the time.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I've yet to get a try antelope. I've never tried it. But yeah, I mean, I
I'm
think
a big
it's
fan.
motivated me to go get some ducks this year, at least. So.
Do it. Just go shoot some greenheads. Like it's not hard. You don't have to be a hardcore waterfowler. It's not like you're going to shoot
Hmm.
limits every day, but like you can shoot a handful of mallards and have a great meal.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely probably take that
And
up
in
on
your
you.
neck of the woods, they're just eating corn, and like they're
Right.
going to be like the best tasting. You have the best
Right.
tasting deer and the best tasting ducks, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have it good over here. Let's see, chat. Thanks for answering the questions, guys. Good luck and be safe in the woods this season. Likewise, you be safe as well. And Garrett said bacon wrapped venison tenderloin. That's been on the
Yep.
grill is my favorite. So one thing that I kind of started making, well, actually, I have two recipes for you, or two, I guess, foods. So backstrap, the gripe from people are, deer's dry, which is
Yeah.
because they usually overcook it.
Yes.
But I now have been making a brine, and I'll brine the deer steak or backstrap for like 24 to 48 hours and then
Oh, interesting.
throw it on the grill, and it is super moist and just absolutely delicious. Then, I mean, you can kind of just make your favorite brine. You have your salt, and I use brown sugar a lot when I cook too.
Yep.
So of that, and your seasonings. And if you're um, like into your favorite steak seasoning, you can toss that on there too when you throw it on. But the other thing is pheasant Alfredo.
Oh,
I made
interesting.
that this last year, and that is the best Alfredo I've ever had. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think you're totally right with game generally.
mhm,
If it's, I grew up again eating a lot of seafood at the beach, and people are like, I don't like
mhm,
seafood. I'm like, they probably overcooked it. If you overcook deer, it's awful. It's like really bad. I
Gets
don't
all
blame you for not.
chewy and
Yeah, you're just like
rubbery. Yeah.
it's kind of skanky.
Mhm.
Honestly, you're just like, oh,
Mhm.
this isn't good. Again, generally speaking, like I eat beef, black and blue, like it's
Mhm.
cold in the middle. So I know that's maybe a little less common,
Yeah, I'm
but
like a medium
overcooking
rare.
game, yeah, overcooking game is it's not going to
That's
be
the
good.
quickest way to ruin it. You're gonna be
Yeah, it's
chewing out the
ducks will
flavor.
be. Yeah, so when I tell you mallards or teal, if you overcook it, it's awful. So
Yeah. I mean, anything fatty
err on
gets like that too.
yeah, err on the undercooked side. It's not going to
Mhm.
hurt you.
Right. You can always throw it on the grill a little bit longer if,
Totally,
it's too much for you. You can't undo it.
that's right.
So, so yeah, definitely try pheasant Alfredo.
We'll have to check it out.
I homemade the sauce or whatever and um, all that, and it was phenomenal. And then obviously springtime, you got to have your morels and all that.
Oh yeah,
So um, I would say those are kind of my top things. But I mean, I love ground venison too. Just substituting hamburger and throwing it in whatever you make. I mean, hamburger helper, whatever. I think
yeah,
it's good.
we do a lot of that too. We'll make a bunch of ground and we'll make sausage, but we won't do the
Mhm.
casings. So we'll just have like
Mm.
pattied
Yeah.
sausage, and you can
Yeah.
use that. We'll do some breakfast stuff, but frankly,
Hmm.
we'll mainly do more just a general Italian or whatever, and you can use that in all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Makes sense. So I want to hear a little bit about land trust now. What is it? What could it do for any of the listeners?
sure. Yeah, so LandTrust is a marketplace where people who love the outdoors, hunters, fishermen, foragers, campers, all sorts of people can basically easily discover, connect, and book private land directly with the private landowners um, through the platform. So again, think Airbnb or VRBO, but instead of booking someone's house, you're booking DIY access, exclusive access to someone's land. So I started the company back in 19. Just basic, I wanted to use it, right?
Hmm.
I live in Bozeman. Montana has a ton of public land. That's awesome. We love public land. It's a great resource. But there's a lot of amazing private land around town too, and all over the place that it would be great to get access to. Of course, door knocking has always been there, always been an option.
Hmm.
Um, I think we'd all probably say door knocking's got a lot harder in the past 20 years.
A lot more competitive.
Um, a lot more competitive, and
More
it's interesting.
immigrants and.
Yeah, look, I think there's multiple factors. One, there's less huntable ground because development has skyrocketed. It's not
Hmm.
that there's more hunters per se. Some people say like, oh, there's too many hunters.
Yeah. I.
When you look at hunting license sales, I mean, it's relatively flat, like 15 to 16 million hunting licenses sold
Uh
in the
huh.
last 20 years.
I feel like with a competitive comment, it's more so, as you mentioned,
It's the
land
ground, it's the
usage.
supply.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, how many farms do you know that now are subdivisions?
Hmm.
My house that I live in here was, wheat 5 years ago, 6 years
Hmm.
ago. So, we're losing, undeveloped or agricultural huntable ground and relatively the same amount of hunters. So yeah, same demand, shrinking
Hmm.
supply, more competition. And I think, like you said, litigation, today there's more likely to be someone suing somebody for something or whatever,
Hmm.
right?
Yep, that was a
So,
comment I save, and everyone's so sue happy.
yep. So it's just different. It's a different world we live in today, and it is what it is.
Hmm.
So, uh, yeah. So I started LandTrust out of the desire to go do that, and you know, we predominantly work with production owner operator production agricultural landowners. So these are multi generation farm and ranch families who are
Hmm.
running a business and trying to make those businesses profitable because
Hmm.
that's what it comes down to.
We all
And
know the economy nowadays.
yeah, and it's funny, it's not funny. Farmers and ranchers, they say, hey, we buy retail and sell wholesale, which
Hmm.
is not a great, for the commodity production, it's not a great
Business
formula.
model
So
or yeah.
yeah, so land trust is one of those things. They may have done leasing in the past,
Hmm.
and look, leasing is interesting. I think it'll always exist.
Hmm.
But for the landowner and for the sportsman, I don't know that's the ideal scenario for all applications. I know a lot of our owner operator producers, the people who live and work their ground, live there and work it. They didn't love it because they're selling a property right uh,
Hmm.
for a year or 2 years, whatever the time period be. And what we've learned, I don't come from ag, but what I've learned over the last 5 years and talking to thousands of producers all over the country is they really above all, crave control. They want to control their
Yeah, they don't
business,
want
their
to have to
property
work
rights.
their butts off for it.
Yeah, exactly. So when you lease something, you basically sold the property right away. And
Hmm.
then your friends, your family, your neighbors, the kid down the street, door knocker who you happen to really like, you can't let them use it, right? Because you
Hmm.
sold that
Your
property
hands are
right.
tied. Yep.
That's right. So land trust has been something very welcome to these folks because they can still generate some income, but they can say, hey, look, my kids or I personally like to hunt
Yeah, they can
whitetails.
hunt it. Hmm.
But I don't care about hunting ducks on our ponds or fishing or
Hmm.
camping or, hey, you can come take some does or whatever it might be, right? So they can still utilize that thing. Just like if you were to list your house on Airbnb, like, okay, we're blocking it off Thanksgiving week for the family because they're coming to town. So they
Hmm.
can kind of use it and then still monetize some of it. And it still allows for the door knocking and for the friends, family, neighbors, business
Hmm.
partners, whatever, to still utilize those assets.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of a different perspective to it all that I think can pan out. How's it been going? You've been onboarding a lot of new people, or how to?
Yeah, it's been good. Hey, look, it's a grind. As you know, probably living in the region you live, farmers and ranchers, they can be pretty cynical because they've been sold a lot of BS over the years.
Hmm.
And how many times I've heard this sounds too good to be true is many.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, people who approach farmers and ranchers either ask them for money or control,
Hmm.
and we bring money and say you keep the control.
Hmm.
So, it took a while, but now we're about 1.5 million acres in 42 states.
There we go.
And we've got sportsmen and women in 50 states, so
Hmm.
people all over the country. Um, I think we're just about to be 5 years, cross 5 years of a,
Hmm.
live website and all that. So it takes a long time, man. This is
Yeah,
not
it's nothing
overnight
overnight.
success will be like 10 years in. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah,
so
that's something people don't see too. They're like, man, that must be nice. They blew up. It's like, yeah, they worked their asses off for 10
yeah.
years before they had one lucky day that,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah.
it's a lot of work, but I love the company we build because every day I get to work with amazing farmers and
Hmm.
ranchers, just like awesome people that we all know,
Hmm. Right.
and we get to generate value for them through our partnership. And
Hmm.
and I'm a hunter. Everyone that works here hunts, fishes,
Hmm.
does outdoor stuff. So I love both sides of my marketplace. I love my partners who
Right.
are my landowners, and I love all the customers.
Hmm. Yeah. So your focus, obviously, you want to bring on, landowners. Has the feedback and stuff from the hunters been good, or do you hear much of that? Or,
Oh yeah, we've done, I don't know, maybe 4,000 trips now. Um and overwhelmingly, I think it's like 97% 5-star reviews. So it's just
yeah.
for the listeners, it works like an Airbnb or an Uber. Like
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
parties rate each other. So you transact, you
Okay.
do a booking, and then the landowner rates the guest rates the landowner.
Hmm.
So extremely high 5-star ratings.
Hmm.
Nothing's perfect.
Hmm.
Um, I would say we attract the type of sportsman who will generally like the experience. So
Hmm.
let me unpack that a little bit. Land trust is all about do it yourself, exclusive access to land. So this is not guided. There's no guarantees, and I think people who sign up for that are kind of like, okay, yeah. Again, I am the person who started the company. I did it for that reason. I just wanted, hey, there's a beautiful ranch down there. I'd love to go fly fish or shoot some ducks
Hmm.
on it. I don't need any help. It's basically just a trespass fee, essentially.
Right.
And so for those people, I would say, if you're just looking for access to go somewhere and have a place to yourself, you have a
Hmm.
young kid, or do you have multiple children?
I have a 10-year-old.
Okay, so you got 10-year-olds. So yeah, you're out there actually getting it done with them. I got little kids. Yeah, I got a business. I don't get the time I used
I
to get.
remember those days.
Yeah, and look, man, it's I get a handful of days a year where I get to go
Hmm.
enjoy myself. What I don't want to do is I don't want to go somewhere with 10 trucks in the parking lot.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just, uh, there was a time in my life where it's like, all right, cool, it's a chess match and who can
Hmm.
win and be good. I don't want to
Now
do
you
that
got to
anymore.
make the most out of what little time you have.
Exactly. And so I think for people who just want to go out and have a place to themselves, be able to approach it the way they want to approach it, not have to play the chess match of public ground or other stuff like that. Nothing against that. It's all fun.
Hmm.
And we still hunt public ground too. But um, that's really what it's about. So yeah.
If there's anyone out there listening that maybe has, a farm of their own, family farm, and
Sure.
intrigued by it, do you have any kind of general info on like how it works for
Sure.
that relationship?
Yeah, of course. So one I would say is we're extremely service oriented. Like technically, we're a technology company. You never hear us talk about ourselves like that. Like we're here in the service business. Our landowners are our business partners. We don't make any money unless they do. So it's not like a sign up fee or we don't sell you
Mhm,
anything. It's you own this asset and you steward it. We're a partner to access a market. And so we only make money on a transaction.
mhm.
We have a
Usually
team
like a
that will
percentage or
exactly. So it's 80-20. Landowner makes 80,
mhm,
we make 20. Covers insurance and credit card processing
mhm,
fees and all the other stuff, right? And so we know that, again, almost all of our landowners are producers, not all of them. And they're very busy people. So we have an onboarding team. We have landowner success managers whose whole job is it to make you successful.
mhm,
And so we'll ask you a bunch of questions. Depending on what state you're in, we'll send someone to visit you, see your place, take photos. We do digital maps of your property. We partner with Onyx and Huntwise and a couple mapping companies. So we'll make digital maps. We'll have waypoints like here's a gate, here's a camera, here's
mhm,
stands, whatever, no go zones. We'll get all that stuff built for you, totally free. And then we'll show it to you, and if it looks good and you like it, we'll set it live, and then you'll begin to get inquiries. And when you get an inquiry, I want to be really clear: a landowner can say yes or no to any booking request. It's not like a hotel where I could just like book it and I'm
mhm.
showing up at your
They
place.
just say you can show up. Yeah.
Everything's a request. So sportsmen have profiles. I send you a message: hey, I'd love to come out and shoot some ducks on your pond for October
Mhm,
21st to the 3rd, whatever. um, and you can go back and forth. Unlike some of those other platforms, we actually encourage our landowners to talk. If they want to have a
mhm.
phone call, just to they're on the combine or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, talk to them and feel them out. And if they sound good, great, accept the booking. If they don't, decline it.
Mhm,
So it's a really seamless thing. And again, once a sportsman books your property and you accept it, we send them like arrival instructions, which is Onyx
mhm,
and Huntwise, like full property maps, like
mhm,
waypoints, where to park, arrival instructions, all that stuff. And the point is, if a landowner wants to be totally hands free, doesn't want to meet anybody, they can. Like we have landowners that never meet their guests,
mhm,
but we also have a lot of landowners who thought they wouldn't want to meet their guests who really enjoy engaging with their guests
mhm.
now. It's kind of like this
I'm sure it's
intrinsic.
nice seeing who's on your property. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's ratings, right? So
mhm,
there's that kind of counterbalance of,
mhm.
hey, making sure there's good behavior. No landowner I know is going to accept a booking from a 3-star rated sportsman,
Yeah, right.
right? So the behavior, landowners have rated guests, and I think 99% of the time 5 stars.
Mhm,
And so it's a pretty simple process. If there's any landowners out there, just give us a call or text us. Like we're real people. We got people here in Bozeman, but also in Fargo in North
mhm,
Dakota who will walk you through the whole thing. There's no like chat bots or AI or anything.
mhm.
Just call us.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I that was you kind of answered some of my questions there because I was gonna ask if like the owners throw up trail cameras and provide pictures, or if you guys do some pictures, or how that all works.
Yeah, so we've got a product right now internally. We're going to release externally. It's semi-released externally right now.
Mhm,
So it's called Field Notes, and we put a lot of cameras out. So we have cameras all across the country,
mhm,
cell cams, and we also are enabling our landers now to just like post updates about their properties. So they're
mhm.
out on the combine, take a picture, flock of turkeys,
Yeah,
deer, whatever, right?
right.
Think Instagram, but for private land and like
Mhm,
what we like to do. So now you can start following properties and get updates. So you're like, oh, that one's kind of like we actually have some
mhm.
really interesting properties in Iowa that you should follow. But
Yeah,
landowners are
I
starting to publish their own updates. And so it's like now it's an Instagram style feed, but it's just of like
right.
private ground that you can actually access
Yeah,
through LandTrust.
and
And
cool
so
stuff you like. Like,
heck yeah. And again, it's like, oh wow, he just took a picture of like a flock of 50 birds or something. I'm gonna
mhm,
book that place for next weekend.
right.
So Field Notes is gonna come out and there's gonna be like almost like a universal, like platform wide Field
Mhm,
Notes, just like this nonstop feed of
mhm,
landowners posting really cool stuff. It's a really cool way to discover new properties in different states,
mhm.
and but you can follow those properties that you're really interested in, whether they
Interested
be
in,
near
yeah.
you or hey, I just got you interested in antelope hunting in Montana. Follow some cool antelope properties and keep up with the
Yeah.
property, right?
That's definitely an interest, by the way. Definitely
Yeah.
antelope would be
Who
fun.
doesn't like looking at game cam photos and like,
Right.
I don't know, seeing
Exactly.
stuff?
Just scroll through the
Yeah.
feed and look at
Yeah.
deer and other animals.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and also if you ever need boots on the ground in Iowa, I'm very central Iowa, so feel free to reach out too.
Awesome. You should go check out and meet Adam Seward at Buckboard. Um, check out Buckboard and your listeners too. But I don't know how close he is to. He's pretty close to you, I think. He's got a handful of properties. He had a
So that would just
massive
be
deer.
going to LandTrust
Yeah,
and
go to
searching the
LandTrust.
property.
Yeah, search Buckboard. He has a few properties with us. I think the trees is the one he had a enormous deer on, and that he found that deer as a deadhead. Something happened, but um, you should go out and visit with him. Adam's awesome. He's such a
Yeah,
cool guy.
definitely.
He's got phenomenal hunting. I think he's fifth or
New
sixth generation.
Providence.
Yeah, but check
Okay,
out that
yeah, I'll
whitetail
check
on
that out
there.
after. Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Actually, let's see if I
massive.
can see the white.
Go, yeah, scroll down to his packages, and you'll have like whitetail hunting on there. If you pick the trees one, and
Archery
he's got some big,
whitetail hunt. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
he's got some big deer.
it's a monster.
He unfortunately found that one this year as a deadhead.
Oh
Something
no.
must have happened. I know, but he's got incredible genetics there. And if you look
There
at
was a
that,
bunch of EHD in Iowa last year, so
yeah, but you look at
that could
that
have been
package, I think it's like 1,200
1,200
bucks.
per guest, one guest, 3 days.
Yeah, so you can stay in his cool barn. He put a bar in it, like the whole thing.
Oh, that's
Adam's a
cool.
total character. You can hang out, but I mean, to hunt that class of deer for
Hmm.
1,200 bucks, yeah, it's DIY. You're not getting guided or anything like that,
Hmm.
but that's a pretty cool, like
I mean,
accessible
we were looking
experience.
at least that, yeah, 649 acres,
Hmm.
versus I think leases usually go way up
Especially with
comparatively.
that kind of deer on it. I mean, for the people listening, I know you can't see the deer, but 200 plus inch
Yeah, it's
deer.
definitely a large deer.
Yeah. But anyways,
Yeah, that's neat.
look, it's interesting. The people who use LandTrust are pretty middle class. Again,
Hmm.
they got families, they got jobs. They love hunting, they love fishing, they love these things, they love the outdoors. They just
Hmm.
don't get an immense amount of time to do it. And it's
Right.
not. It's not all or nothing. So we have
Hmm.
people, including myself, who hunt public sometimes. Then we book stuff on LandTrust and do some private stuff.
Hmm.
And so I really dislike the whole like bifurcation of public versus private. It's like, I don't know. I like all of it. It's all great.
Yeah, I
It's all
hunt
about the
public.
context of what it is. Yeah, of
Hmm.
course. So
So I live in central Iowa, and my farm that I hunt is 2 hours away. So it's just far enough that you can't really go after work or something. So it's like
right.
a weekend trip.
Yeah.
So I mix in a lot of public, my weeknights, or
Sure.
as I mentioned, I urban hunt. So I'll do
Yep.
urban, after work a lot. I hunt a cemetery literally like 2 blocks from my house. What a
Nice.
crazy thing. I never thought I would hunt, but
I know it's a little creepy. Yeah, but
it's
I'm
kind of
sure they're in there.
surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all over the place. So that's what I hunted last year. I think it'll probably be the same for me this year. But yeah, I like mixing in public,
Of
and
course. I like it all, man. It's all great.
mhm,
And
I
that's
just
where
love
I
the
just
outdoors.
it that's it, right? And I really hope that, especially in the hunting community, again, we do more than just hunting, but I hope in the hunting community, and I guess living in the West, especially Bozeman, it's very tribal. It's like public lands or die. Like, yeah, public lands
Hmm.
are awesome. It's a super cool resource, but I don't know, 70% of the lower 48 is private. And, we got to figure this out. Like, we're spoiled here.
Hmm.
There's people who live in Nebraska, it's 99% private.
Hmm.
Kansas, 99% private. Texas,
Hmm.
96% private. And so
Right.
we have to like look at all of it.
Or the public's all landlocked by private, and you have to pay a
Yeah.
trespassing
Yeah.
fee to get to the public.
Yeah. So I like getting outdoors. I like every type of hunting and fishing I've ever tried,
Hmm.
public, private, whatever. Like, just getting outdoors more is what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, I really need to get back to fishing. Growing up, man, and high school and stuff, every day, my buddy and I would get out of school, we'd go fish every single day. And
Well, and it's a lot more accessible, and you could do it for like more bite
hmm.
size, especially this stage of your life. And you got your
Hmm.
son who's 10. Like,
Yeah,
my daughter who's 5 now just learned how to cast for herself. She doesn't know how to tie lures or anything, but she's
right.
pretty self sufficient if I've got it tied. You can go do it for 30 minutes.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like if you're going to go hunt, it's 30 minutes is not really, it
Yeah.
won't suffice,
Most
but
of
you
the
can go
time
fish for
it's
30
not.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely makes sense. Need to get back to it. Like I said, it's,
Do it.
man, it's been a few years for me. Like I
And
said, it used to
bluegill.
be a daily thing.
Yeah, bluegill for kids. Like if you want to get kids
Hmm.
hooked on fishing, you need them to catch fish. And
Yep.
bluegill is like, I
Bluegill,
got my girls.
crappie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got them stoked on it because it's every cast.
Yep. Right. Yeah. They're pretty easy to get hold of. And then just using an ultralight makes everything fun too, right?
Totally.
Everything feels like a monster.
Yeah.
So, yep, get back to that. And then, man, we're rolling into hunting season. Urban season starts middle of next month here. So, which it's fun
Okay.
because you
Nice.
get to go practice urban. And then October 1st is when archery opens in Iowa. So,
Okay. Yeah, you're
lots of
so
fun things.
the Seek One guys, that's like that's the Hall of Famer
Yeah, yeah,
urban
that's,
guys. Yeah.
yeah, the ones that have made it big on, YouTube doing a lot of urban. So, do you do any filming or anything of your hunts, or do you just go hunt and
No, I mean, because of,
it's a
I mean, we
love,
have
right?
partners. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like we have partners. So I hunted with Gundog Magazine this
Hmm.
last opener for Sharpies in Eastern Montana. Again, I am not a good hunter. I'm not like a personality. I run a business. I run a marketplace. It happens
Hmm.
to operate in this. If it allows me to hunt a little bit, and I happen to be
Hmm.
somewhere off camera, great. You know, I should not be putting my stuff out on the internet telling people how to hunt by any means. I'm
Right,
not
right.
qualified for that. But yeah, I have been, I guess, part of shows.
Hmm.
But no, I don't do any social. I don't actually have any personal social media, so I don't have
Okay.
Facebook or Instagram. Or I got rid of all that stuff in like 2016, I think,
Probably
15.
less distracted by doing that, huh?
Less distracted, definitely. I have LinkedIn, but I don't consider LinkedIn
Yeah,
social media.
yeah. It's a whole different animal of social media.
Yeah.
So I think what needs to happen from what I'm hearing here is
Hmm.
there needs to be a land trust pheasant hunt, right? In like Iowa or
Yeah.
South Dakota.
We should go to Seward's place, man. Adam's got the same
Oh
landlord I was
yeah,
talking
he
about. He's
has
got
pheasants
great
here.
pheasant hunting. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm game. I'm game.
If you ever
Uh,
come out this way, let me know and
I
hunt
do, and
some
actually, my lab
buffalo.
is from just outside Des Moines.
Oh really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
he's from a kennel called Iowa Pointing Labs.
Okay,
Um,
I think I've heard of them.
it's like
I got
40
mine
minutes or
down in
so.
Sigourney. Mine was like a couple hours away. But yeah,
Okay.
I've heard of Iowa Pointing Labs.
Yeah,
I was
so
looking
that's
at
where
them.
he's from. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's
pheasant hunt with lodging included,
yep.
225 per guest. That's not terrible.
No, and again, Adam's awesome, and his lodging's super
Hmm.
cool. He built a full bar in his barn. Like it's a good time. So I'm game. I do owe. I've actually never been to his place. I
Hmm.
do owe him a visit, so that would be a fun one.
Yeah, if you ever do, look me up. Reach out. I'll go. Absolutely. Pheasant hunting something I grew up doing too. Like that was
It's so
my
much fun.
stepdad and I. We would like he used to deer hunt and stuff. He doesn't really deer hunt anymore, but he still pheasant hunts actively, and that was kind of just us getting out bonding and going.
Well, that's frankly, I really love bird hunting. I mean, I know it's the thing I grew up doing, so I'm biased,
Hmm.
but I do love it because it's social.
Hmm. It's
It's like,
social.
yeah, archery elk
If you
hunting or
have,
sitting in a tree
yeah,
stand. It's not. It's
you're not
isolate.
gonna
It's
have five of your
no,
buddies or whatever
no,
out there.
no, and that's why duck
Whereas,
hunting is honestly pretty fun. So if you like upland, like you can sit
everybody
in a
hanging
duck
out in
blind.
the blind
Yeah,
and
you can
yeah.
talk. Like the ducks don't.
Hmm.
It doesn't really affect them. So I do love bird hunting for that. You go walk through fields and you can talk and yeah,
Hmm.
and you watch your dogs work.
Yeah, I was about to say my favorite thing is watching the dogs work.
Totally. So
I'm
did you grow up?
excited to get the puppy out too. As
Yeah,
soon
did
as
you
the
grow up
first
pheasant
comes.
hunting, like doing drives? Because I grew up when we pheasant hunted with Brittany's. We had one dog, and
Yep.
yeah, so you could probably grew up hunting pheasant the way I did. Where
We had one dog and then two of us, and
yeah,
we would walk 50 yard whatever apart, and
yep,
we'd
and
walk to the field edge, loop
yeah.
around, yep, come back, and yep.
So that's how I grew up pheasant hunting, and I just did my first South Dakota pheasant hunt this last
Hmm.
winter. It was like November, but weirdly, it was like 70 degrees,
Hmm.
which I should have paid attention to. And that was a kind of classic driven hunt. and I'd never done that before. It was a blast.
Hmm.
Not knocking it at all, and I've never seen that many birds in my life. And it was wild birds. It wasn't a farm. It wasn't a put and
Yeah.
take. It was just incredible to see that many pheasants. But very different style of hunting, like where you have blockers and you do the whole thing. You
Hmm.
get to shoot a lot of birds because South Dakota's a party limit. So
Hmm.
if the people you're with suck at shooting, you can shoot
Yeah.
a lot of
Right.
birds. I think I shot 19 birds in
I'll
two
take my
days.
friends.
Yeah,
They don't hurt
totally.
anything.
But seeing the dogs do their thing, I think is really special, and I think you get that in
That's the best
either.
part.
It is honestly. I mean, seeing them do their thing. This last winter, I hunted. The last 2 winters, I hunted the coldest days of the year in Montana. Here in Bozeman, it was 45, 50
Hmm.
below, and watching your dog get out in the like a warm spring creek, but go and like pull
Hmm.
ducks out of the water. It's cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah, I only made it out a couple times this last season. This year, I'm gonna make it out a lot more. That's the plan, anyways. And it's just, I don't know, it's a whole different ball game. It's fun. It's
It's
really
so
fun
much
watching
fun.
dogs work.
Yeah,
And I mean, you kind of tick off the dogs a little bit when they kick up hens, and you
I
can't
know.
shoot
Don't
them,
shoot them. Yeah,
and they're like, "The heck,
yeah.
man!" Yeah.
Yeah, and pheasants they're a wily bird. They can with young dogs, it can be really hard on young dogs because those
Yeah,
they love
they'll
to
either tuck
run.
in tight and not move and let you
Yep.
walk past them, or they'll spook up 100 yards in front of you,
Yeah,
or they'll
and
just
they'll
run.
or they'll run their asses off.
Yeah.
Right? They'll just run nonstop and never get in
Hmm.
the air.
Yep. Absolutely. Or like I said, they'll run 100 yards away from you, then fly.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we're coming up on the hour, so I feel like a good time to open up the floor so you can give any shout outs or tell everyone how to find you or
Sure.
anything else you want to say.
Yeah. First of all, appreciate you having me on. For finding us, it's just landtrust.com. We've got contact down on the bottom. So, if you're a sportsman, you like to get outdoors, you like to hunt, you like to fish, you like to camp. We have farm and ranch experiences. So the place I might go kill a gator. And when it comes to crawfish season, you'll be able to book like a crawfish boil experience. So
Interesting.
you and your friends will get to go and like pick crawfish, then do a boil, drink some beers, like do the whole thing. So like a bunch of cool experiences. Just go to landtrust.com, search by state, create a free account. I will say this: when you create your account, tell us what you like, and we'll ask you, hey, do you like to hunt? Do you like to fish? Do you like to camp? Do you like to do this other stuff? If you say you like to hunt, we'll say, hey, what do you like to hunt? What state do you live in? What states are you interested in? And think about it almost like Zillow. I don't know if you guys have ever used Zillow, but like, hey, you tell Zillow, I'm interested in a house that looks like this. And they'll just send you every time a new house hits the market. That's exactly how LandTrust works. So as we're bringing on new properties, if you tell me I like pheasant hunting in Iowa, we're going to send you Iowa pheasant hunting properties nonstop.
Hmm.
And not to spam you, it's like you told us you like that, and as a hunter, so tell us all the things you like, and essentially we're scouting for you 365 days a year for free.
Hmm.
So if there's now you might be interested in an antelope hunt in Montana, just
Hmm.
check antelope in Montana, and we'll send you those listings as they come up. You can follow us. There's our social media stuff is linked at the bottom in the footer. So it's
Hmm.
landtrust_hunt. Um, and then if there's landowners out there, there's a landowner page. There's contact again. You can text or call us. There's real people.
Hmm.
Our team has onboarded hundreds and hundreds of landowners who are all owner operator producers, busy people. Um, and the resounding thing we hear from landowners is how much they love the people here and the service they get. So we're business partners with landowners. You're not our customer. We are partners. We make money together. So go there. If there's a number, I should memorize the number. I haven't memorized it, but at the contact, text or call us, and we're happy to help you out. And
I
by the way,
just
if you're a
found this
sports,
as we were talking there, and it took like a minute. So.
yeah, and now you're gonna like when we bring on new properties that match your
Hmm.
interests, you'll get an email and you can check it out. So yeah, I would say that. And by the way, as a sportsman, that same number gets you in contact with our customer success. What we're happy to like
Hmm.
match you with properties.
Would that be the recreator's number?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The
So
recreator number.
406-709-8450.
That's the one. Yeah, that patches you in straight to all of our people here. And if you're a landowner, we'll get you the right people. If you're a sportsman, we'll happy to talk to you.
Perfect. If anyone has any questions, now's your time to ask. Um, And then are you just Land Trust on socials? Um,
LandTrust underscore hunt is
okay.
yeah, LandTrust underscore hunt on Instagram. We do have a LandTrust underscore landowners for more of our farm, like more of our
Mhm.
farmers and ranchers. The hunt one is kind of like the main platform. Um, Instagram and Facebook are kind of the main ones. We do have a YouTube we're
Yeah.
starting to like do a little bit with, but we're
Mhm.
building it.
Perfect. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier on, this episode streamed live, across all of our platforms.
Sure.
The video will live on our YouTube channel. We'll go into the podcast tab. Then the audio format of this will go to Spotify. It'll go off into podcast land. So your Spotify, Apple,
Awesome. Yep.
Google, so on and so forth. So if you do listen to this on Spotify specifically, that's where a lot of our listening goes on. Be sure to drop a 5-star review if you like it. Let us know what you think and so on. And you can follow us, Veganless TV. We're on basically all social platforms. Instagram's our biggest. Then, we have our YouTube. We do our filmed hunts and so on and so forth.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you too, Daniel.
We will go ahead and wrap this up. So, as mentioned, check us out on all of our social platforms. Check out Land Trust. Be sure to check us out on